What's up, everybody? I'm Josh.
I'm Ryan.
You watching Trey Ball. Today we're going to be talking about the NBA Finals. NBA Finals is 2-0, 2-zip in favor of the Phoenix Suns. Milwaukee is down. I mean, down pretty bad in this series. Without looking at the score, I mean, first game was 118-105. Second game 118-108. It's really not that close. If you've been watching the games, Giannis coming off of the injury, and I believe it was it Game 6 he hurt himself. He hyperextended his knee, right? Game 6 against the
Yep.
Atlanta Hawks in the conference finals. He comes into the NBA Finals, Game 1. He has a pretty solid game. I think he had like 20 and 13, 20 and 12, something around there. Game 2, you knew he was going to come out firing on all cylinders. Whether the ball went in the hole or not, that was the question. 42 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, some blocks in there, 15 to 22, 1 to 5 from 3, 11 to 18 from the free throw line. Really, I mean, it was Giannis' night. The other issue is he didn't have much help. He didn't get anything from Drew Holiday. I mean, granted, he had 17 points and 7 assists, but you have to combat what Chris Paul is doing on the other side of the ball. Miles Bridges, he also had Michael Bridges, I'm sorry, had a big game as well. Dropped 27 last night. You only get 11 points and 8 assists from Chris Middleton. I mean, granted, he did have 8 assists, but 11 points is just not enough for a secondary star in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, absolutely. You can tell Game 2, Giannis came out with just another level of intensity. I think for the others, I'm not going to say the intensity wasn't there. Like, Drew Holiday started off really aggressive Game 2. He just wasn't making anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was missing layups, right there at the basket, and left-handed layups, which usually for him go in. He's pretty skilled with his left hand, but they weren't falling. So, I don't think it was a issue of necessarily them not being focused or locked in. I think just for whatever reason, teams have those games where just shots aren't falling, and we know that Milwaukee is a good enough they're one of the better offensive teams in the league. So I'm expecting them to win Game 3 or Game 4. I don't think they're going to win both of them because I think Phoenix just has a lot of momentum right now. And Giannis is going to have to, number one, I think the X factor to me will be Chris Middleton as well as Drew Holiday. Chris Middleton has been just way too inconsistent. He's pulled them out of the hole, but then he's also been the reason they're in the hole.
Yeah.
So that's not going to work long term. So if Chris Middleton doesn't turn things around, I can easily see this, being like a 4-1 and it's done and over with.
The thing for me, man, is, I mean, I'm sure I don't know if you've seen the clips or not, but the difference is it's always a top-down approach with me. Who's even-keeled, who stays focused and locked in the moment. Are their leaders panicking, or are they staying locked in? Are they, encouraging, uplifting? But, for example, all right, you look at Mike Budenholzer and the Bucks, pretty nonchalant approach to the game. His pregame speech, it didn't do anything for anybody, and especially the people watching. They understood that in a pivotal game on the road, you need to bring force, you need to bring intensity, and he didn't do anything of that nature for his team. He didn't get them excited to play the game. He didn't hype them up. He didn't, you look for something like that from your coach, especially when you have a potential to go down 0-2 on the road in the NBA Finals. Granted, you go back home, but you don't want to rely on that, especially when you have a 2-time defending MVP and Defensive Player of the Year on your team. You don't want to come in lackadaisical. He came in and he played with more force than even the coach had in his position, in his role. So, I mean, I like Giannis' approach to the game, but the people around him didn't bring that same approach. If you look at the other side, you look at Phoenix, Monty Williams, his conversation with DeAndre Ayton told everybody all they needed to know about the series. When you coach the way Monty Williams has been coaching the Suns, that's somebody you want to play for. That's a leader. You want to get extra rebounds. You want to get extra possessions. You want to hustle. You want to knock down open shots. You want to play good defense, talk, rotate, so on and so forth. You want to do those type of things for that type of coach. That's what we're seeing right now from Phoenix. Phoenix is playing with a sense of urgency. They've never been in the NBA playoffs before this year. Only Chris Paul and Jay Crowder, granted, they're vets. They've been around a long time. But to get that from the entire roster, I mean, Cameron Payne is being Cameron Payne. Whether he's making shots or not, he still brings an intensity. He still plays the game at a very fast pace. That's his style of play. Cam Johnson comes in, big contributions in the first half, knocking down, corner three after corner three. Like I said, Jay Crowder, CP3, you know what they bring to the table. And that just makes Ayton feel even more comfortable, makes Booker feel even more comfortable. I mean, look, DeAndre Ayton didn't have as great of a game as he has, been playing the entire playoffs, but you wouldn't know that the way he was, intense. He brought his intensity. Giannis dropped 42, but it wasn't a cakewalk to the basket. He held his ground in a lot of situations, a lot better than a lot of guys have fared against Giannis at that center position. So, I mean, he still walks away with a double-double last night, but like I said, I mean, you can tell that there's a difference in intensity, but you can't really tell which team is the better squad and which has been there for the first time.
Yeah, I think, comparatively, I think all of us feel, at least personally, I feel like Milwaukee should have been here. I mean, especially since their regular season, and to the point where as they became known as just a regular season success. How many times have we seen them come out with number one seed in the East only to get eliminated in the second or third, second round or in the conference finals?
Yeah.
So, now that they are here, you would expect a little bit more from that team, but I think it's just a matter, and it'll be interesting to see how they respond Game 3. I think Game 3 will really show us what the Bucks are made of. Being down 0-2, they're coming back home. They got the support of the crowd. I think this will show us, what the heart of that team is really like, and how they respond when their back is against the wall, so to speak. And all the great championship teams have that heart and have that response, and we've seen that over the years. So I think Game 3 is going to tell it all. If the Bucks don't come out with that level of force that they need to come out with, then I think it's going to be over probably in about, I don't think it's going to be a sweep, but I don't see it going past 5 games depending on how Milwaukee responds Game 3.
One of the biggest things too, if you watch the game, you see very little adjustments from Milwaukee. Look, if you look at Phoenix side, they have 2 major injuries in the rotation: the ACL injury to Sarge, and then the knee injury to Craig last night. Those are 2 key rotation players. You have Sarge coming off the bench as a big to back up Ayton a little bit in that stretch 4 role, but he can't score inside and attack the basket, which is exactly how he got hurt in the first place. But you lose 2 key guys in the rotation. You don't panic. You don't spiral out of control. You don't let the game get away from you. All you do is you look at your star players. You look at DeAndre Ayton and says, look, I know normally you would get a rest here. We will plug in Sarge in this situation, but tonight I'm going to need you to play 42 minutes out of the 48. You look at Devin Booker and say, you know what, Craig, he normally comes in and gives you a spell for this period of time. You're playing 44 out of 48 minutes. Why? Because in this situation in the NBA Finals, there really isn't a tomorrow. You don't have to worry about tomorrow. You give everything you have today, and we worry about the rest later on. And that's what I'm seeing from Phoenix. I'm seeing a next man up. I see adjustments. If you watch Phoenix, the way they play, when Milwaukee comes down on the defensive end and they get set, okay? Drew Holiday is 9 times out of 10 going to pressure either Chris Paul or Devin Booker. They throw the ball to the opposite individual, whichever's not on them, and they run the offense until they find the matchup. Okay, they don't necessarily just go straight into the isolation, or they don't try to force anything against Drew Holiday or PJ Tucker. They work the ball around until they get the matchup they want. They run the pick and rolls or whatever. They run the double down screens, dribble handoffs until they get the matchups that they want. And then next thing you know, you have Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton in the pick and roll. You have Michael Bridges driving to the basket. You have Devin Booker hitting wide open threes off of a dribble handoff situation that should have never left him wide open. You see a lot of different adjustments that Phoenix is making. But if you look at Milwaukee, you're seeing the same defensive setups. You're seeing the same offensive setups. You just see Giannis at the top of the key, or whether it be on the top of the key or the wing, they just give him the ball and try to make him go isolation. Granted, he had 42 last night. Giannis can score the basketball, and there's a myth that Giannis doesn't have skill. He's very skilled. Everybody needs to understand that skill is different from having a bag. Anthony Davis is another 7-footer. Kevin Durant is another 7-footer. Those two guys have led people to believe that, they have a bag, so Giannis should have a bag also. That's not how it works. Giannis is skilled. Skill is being able to drive the lane, Euro step around a 7-footer and get a layup. Euro step, get a dunk. Spin, get a dunk. Drop step over the left shoulder, hook. Drop step right over the right shoulder, hook. Pull up jumper at the very arc of the middle of the lane. Those types of things take skill. Left to right crossover, get to the hole, going full court off the backboard. Those are skills, and that's what he excels at, and that's what he's elite at. Not everybody. LeBron doesn't really have a bag. He has a couple moves here and there. The little stare down at the ball, sidestep, pull up three. I guess he has a little bit in his bag, but for the most part, he's just superiorly skilled and has a higher basketball IQ than everybody else. Giannis is using his skill to the best of his ability, and he's getting the most out of it right now. But what I would say, or what I would suggest to the Phoenix Suns, there was 3 or 4 plays, especially in the fourth quarter, where Giannis is just dribbling the ball in the middle of nowhere, and DeAndre Ayton, he's basically standing at the basket. If I'm in that situation, what I'm telling Giannis is, how about this? How about I swing the ball to the nearest person, which is 9 times out of 10, it's either Middleton or Drew Holiday in that situation. I'm swinging it to them, and I'm going to set a screen. And if they come off that screen, if Drew Holiday or Middleton come off that screen, they have a wide open jumper. Why? Because Middleton is still sunken into the lane closer to the basket. He's not going to be able to recover. Giannis is one of the best screen setters in the league. If he sets a good enough screen, that's a wide open jumper every single time. I would never allow Giannis to continue taking threes. I don't care if it's wide open or not. He can barely hit a free throw, and especially with the crowd chanting 10, 9, or however they count every single time he goes to the free throw line, I know he doesn't have any confidence in his shot. So if I'm the coach, I need to have a conversation with my star player like, look, I know you're on a roll. At that point, he probably had maybe 30, close to 40 at that point. I know you're scoring the basketball, but this is what we need to do in order to put us in the best position to win the game.
Yeah, I agree. I think Giannis shot, and granted, some of those kind of step back, falling away, Dirk Nowitzki-esque type shots were falling game 2. That's not what we typically see from him, though. A lot of times, if he goes that route, sometimes it's successful, sometimes it isn't.
Yeah.
So I agree that Giannis does need to just stick with what he's good at. And I think that, him as a player, I think we sometimes devalue his skill set because what he can't do is so obvious. Like, all right, he can't, he's struggling from the free throw line, struggling from 3, those, especially the 3-pointer is such a big, huge emphasis now that we expect almost everybody that calls themselves a star, is considered a star, to have at least, 35 to 40% from the 3-point line, which is just not realistic, So you talk about Giannis' skill set. I think another key to their success would just be him sticking with what he's good at. But that also means that other people will have to step up. So that also means that Chris Middleton will have to be consistent. Drew Holiday will have to be consistent. Granted, Drew Holiday was great defensively. He's been phenomenal defensively these first 2 games. But he's going to need to score some more points too. If Drew can get a consistent, 20 plus, if Middleton can get a good consistent 20 plus, Not only is that going to make, bring some pressure off Giannis, but that's going to be able to, that will better allow him to stick to what he's good at, which is getting to the basket, staying in the paint, not lingering, mid-range, 3-point shots type of thing, or step back, fadeaway, dirt type stuff. That happened to work game 2, but I think that was more of the exception to the norm.
Yeah.
And I think if he thinks that he's going to be able to come out and do that again game 3, I think they're going to end up losing. I just don't think that's not a winning approach for him long term.
It's not. And game 3, I mean, they're back at home. They're 7-1 at home throughout the playoffs. I expect them to play a whole lot better, but I do think they're going to lose this series. I got Phoenix coming out. With that being said, if Phoenix does win this, and we're going to wrap up in just a moment, if Phoenix does win this series, what happens to Mike Budenholzer?
I saw this actually on social media earlier today, where somebody commented that Mike Budenholzer may end up being the first coach who makes it to the finals and still gets fired. I would say give him another season. I mean, you can't deny the regular season success that they've had. And granted, obviously, you want a championship, right? You don't want to settle for just, a regular season success. But, I mean, this is the first time that they've been to the finals. It's not like they've been to the finals multiple times and couldn't get it done. So to boot them now, even if they lose this series, even if they lose it badly, even if they get swept, if I'm the GM for Milwaukee, I'm not going to give them the boot just yet. I'll give them another season just to see how they recover, see what other offseason moves we can make before Xing them. Because the reality is, he's brought them a lot of success since he's been there and took over after Jason Kidd. So I think it's too early to give him the boot, even if they lose this series badly.
Yeah, and I'm kind of on the fence. I mean, I think the problem, a lot of fans, when it comes to Budenholzer, what we're really talking about is we're talking about the 3 or 4 years in Atlanta, and then we see the same exact thing happening to him in Milwaukee. So it's kind of like, is he really the right coach? Is he really a head coach in the league, or is he a good, a good assistant, a great assistant coach that happened to have gotten promoted or found the right job? Don't really know the answer to that. I guess we'll find out with the next couple of days if he makes the proper adjustments heading into Game 3, Milwaukee at home, Sunday night. We'll see what happens. That's a wrap.
Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Special thanks to Curtis Murphy and Murphy Elite Training for sponsoring this episode. If you want to stay up to date on merchandise or simply update your game, please click the link in the description to stay up to date on all things Murphy Elite Training. Until next time, you know the rules.